I still remember the smell of jet fuel in the air when we landed. 7 days earlier, I was standing barefoot on a beach promising forever. 7 days later, I was standing in my childhood driveway, watching strangers carry my mother's piano into a moving truck. The locks had been changed. The curtains were gone. And my in-laws were standing on the porch, smiling like they'd done me a favor. What they didn't know, they had just triggered the most expensive mistake of their lives. If you've ever felt underestimated, dismissed, or completely betrayed by people who thought you'd just take it quietly, this story is going to hit deep. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe for more stories where justice actually gets served, and settle in, because this one starts with heartbreak and ends with precision. The house wasn't just a house. It was a yellow, two-story colonial with white shutters and a maple tree in the front yard that my dad planted the year I was born. Every birthday photo I have is in front of that tree. My height scratched into the kitchen doorway. The creak on the fourth stair you had to avoid if you snuck downstairs past bedtime. When my parents passed within a year of each other, the house became more than sentimental. It became sacred. I couldn't bring myself to sell it, so I didn't. I refinanced it instead, paid off the remaining balance, and kept it in my name. My wife, Emily, understood that, or at least I thought she did. We agreed we'd move in after the wedding, start our marriage there, raise our future kids there. Her parents, Richard and Diane, had always been involved, opinionated, financially aggressive, the type who talked about leveraging assets at Thanksgiving dinner. Richard, especially, had this condescending way of speaking to me. "You're too emotionally attached to things," he'd say, swirling his bourbon. "Assets are meant to move." I'd smile politely, because it wasn't his house. It wasn't his childhood. It wasn't his memories. The honeymoon. We left for Greece 2 days after the wedding. 7 days. Just 7. The house was locked, utilities active, security cameras running. I remember standing in the airport security line and thinking, finally, everything feels stable. For the first time in years, I felt safe. The return. When we pulled into the driveway after landing, my stomach dropped. There was a moving truck parked outside. 2 men were carrying out our dining table, my mom's dining table. I froze. Emily squeezed my hand. Maybe they're delivering something? Then I saw the new lock. Silver, not ours. I walked up the driveway in slow motion. A stranger stopped me. "You can't be here, sir." I laughed, a hollow, confused laugh. "This is my house." He checked his clipboard. "Property was sold last week. We're clearing per new owner's instructions." The words didn't register. Sold. Last week. I turned toward the porch, and there they were, Richard and Diane. The explanation.
You're back early. Why are they in my house?" My voice didn't sound like mine. Diane folded her arms. "Technically, it's not your house anymore. There's a moment when your brain refuses to process reality. It protects you from impact. This was that moment." "What are you talking about?" Richard sighed like I was being unreasonable. "You signed the limited power of attorney so we could help handle paperwork while you were gone, remember? For the insurance updates." I did. 2 weeks before the wedding, they'd insisted they wanted to help lighten the load. I never imagined. "You forged documents?" I asked. Richard shook his head calmly. "We facilitated a sale. Above market value, by the way. You were sitting on dead equity." My ears started ringing. Emily looked pale. "Dad, what did you do?" "We secured your future," Diane snapped. "You're welcome." The betrayal. I walked past them. They didn't try to stop me. Inside, it was gutted. Walls bare, cabinets open. My dad's old leather chair was gone. The indentation in the carpet where the Christmas tree stood every year. Empty. The air smelled wrong. Sterile. I walked into my old bedroom. The closet was open. My mom's jewelry box, gone. My dad's watch collection, gone. I felt it physically, like someone had punched through my rib cage and scooped something out. Behind me, Richard's voice echoed down the hall. "You'll thank us in 5 years." That sentence flipped something in me. The legal reality. Here's what they didn't expect. I'm not emotional when it comes to contracts. I work in commercial real estate law, and that limited power of attorney, it was specific, very specific. Insurance paperwork only. Property disposition explicitly excluded. They hadn't forged a document. They had exceeded authority, which makes the sale voidable. And fraudulent inducement opens doors, very expensive doors. Turning point. That night, Emily cried. "I didn't know," she kept saying. I believed her, but belief doesn't undo damage. I lay awake staring at the ceiling in the hotel we had to book because we were technically trespassing in our own home. My parents' faces ran through my mind, their sacrifices, their trust in me. Richard thought I was sentimental. He thought I'd crumble. He had no idea I'd been waiting 10 years for a case worth dismantling someone over. The plan. First, I didn't confront them again. That's what they expected. Anger, yelling, drama. Instead, I gathered paper, every email, every text, security footage showing their access, copies of the POA. Then I contacted the buyer, a young couple, first-time homeowners, innocent. I explained the situation calmly, showed them the limited authority clause. Their faces went white. They had closed in good faith, which meant title insurance was about to get involved. And title insurance companies, they do not enjoy paying out claims. Escalation. Within a week, Richard was served. Fraudulent inducement, breach of fiduciary duty, civil conspiracy, conversion of property. The buyer sued him. The title company sued him. I filed a petition to void the sale. He called me immediately. "You're overreacting," he hissed.
"Am I?" I replied calmly. "You'll ruin us." I paused. "You ruined my parents' home." Silence. Then anger. "You ungrateful." I hung up. The financial unraveling. Here's what people like Richard rely on: control, confidence, assumption that you won't fight back. But litigation is expensive. Discovery is invasive. And when we subpoenaed bank records, we found something interesting. The above-market sale price? They had skimmed a facilitation fee into their personal account. Wire fraud. Now it wasn't just civil. Their attorney dropped them within 2 weeks. The title company referred the case to prosecutors. Diane stopped attending social events. Richard's golf buddies stopped returning calls. And here's the quiet part. They had leveraged their own home for speculative investments, margin loans, high exposure. When the lawsuits froze their liquidity, they couldn't cover positions. The market dipped, and just like that, their financial genius collapsed. The climax. 6 months after our honeymoon, we stood in court. The judge voided the sale. Title reverted, damages awarded, legal fees imposed, asset seizure ordered pending criminal review. Richard looked smaller somehow. Gray. Sweating. When the ruling came down, he turned toward me. "You didn't have to destroy us." I held his gaze. "You didn't have to steal from me." Outside the courthouse, Emily squeezed my hand. Not trembling this time, steady. The buyers received compensation through insurance. We negotiated to buy back several items that had been auctioned before the injunction. My mom's piano came home. When it crossed the threshold again, I felt something release in my chest. Not joy, closure. The aftermath. Richard and Diane filed for bankruptcy within the year. Charges were reduced in exchange for restitution agreements. They lost the country club membership, the investment properties, the illusion of superiority. We renovated the house slowly, room by room, keeping the doorway height marks, planting a new maple sapling beside the original, because legacy isn't something you liquidate, it's something you protect. Reflective wrap-up short. Some people confuse sentiment with weakness. They mistake kindness for compliance. But when someone violates trust at its core, consequences aren't revenge, they're correction. And sometimes justice isn't loud, it's methodical. If this story made your blood boil and then cool in the most satisfying way possible, hit that like button. Tell me in the comments, would you have gone nuclear or walked away? And if you love stories where arrogance meets accountability, subscribe, because sometimes the sweetest payback isn't screaming, it's watching someone realize they miscalculated you. See ya in the next one.